Hi, and welcome back to the Koi Perspective podcast. I'm absolutely delighted to say we've got another guest today. We've got Adam Webby. You might have already seen that we've done some content in the mag together, done a video. And you were at the Great British Koi Show, where I'm sure a lot of people have maybe bumped into you there as well. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me. I don't know what I'm letting myself in for yet with you three, but nice to be here at this point. Anyway,
we'll look after you. Don't worry. We'll go easy on you for the first time. Dave, how are we doing?
Good evening. I've still got man flu, so yeah, I will go on mute again. But I just want to let the world know that I have got man flu still. That's why I look so tired as well.
All the ladies out there listening to this are definitely feeling bad for you. I don't think any ladies are listening.
No, not at all.
Si, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not bad, mate. I just want to publicly apologise to Adam for being late.
But that bubble bath you was having was lovely, wasn't it?
I owe you guys an apology anyway for last week, don't I?
No.
I was meant to be here last week.
Yeah, that's true. So we've probably a good place to start is that, we had an emergency Adam's Pond. Do you want to tell everybody what happened?
Yeah, so what was the storm called? Storm Darragh, was it? From memory, it was all over the news, wasn't it? But where to even begin? Long story short, the council haven't been keeping on top of the road grids. Where my house and garden is in the dip of a country road. Long story short, the water had nowhere to go. Filled up the road like a river and overflowed into my garden and into the pond. Now, I mean, I've got some footage, and I don't know whether we want to overlay some at some point, but yeah, it was really, really coming in.
If there's any water at all, it all just flows downhill into the pond, doesn't it?
It does, and I've done a lot to try to avoid that situation. You know, I've got eco drains, I've got land drains to catch it all if anything did ever overspill like that. I've got various sump pumps that are kind of last line of defence, but it just come down that heavy and filled up that. And to put it in perspective, cars were going through it and it was cutting their engines out. There's a few that had to be pushed out of it. It was really, really bad. Oh yeah, you can just about see. So it was literally running like a river like that all the way from the road down the garden. And it was just filling the pond up with crap, basically. That was 30 minutes before we were meant to be doing this last week. And I only thought, I better go and I'll just finish work. Better have a quick look. And found it like that. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's just... The problem, obviously, there's loads of problems with that. But first panic was, what's washing in? Because it's off a road, there's farms nearby. What kind of chemicals could there be? It dropped the temperature 5 degrees in about an hour, which is not good at all. So it obviously dropped that. pH weirdly stayed similar, which I was worried. I didn't know whether it was going to suddenly drop the pH or whatever. But then it started peeing out in my filter room as well. And that's the thing, obviously, coming out of the top of the drums at that point then. So I was trying to manage the water level, like let some out of the drums so the filter room sump can help clear it as well, because the next thing it was going to fill up, it basically filled the whole pond up, and it was starting to come over where the boiler and everything is as well. It's got a massive swimming pool boiler for it. So, and that was probably my most expensive bit of equipment. It was too big to move, so I was just hoping to God it didn't get submerged. Yeah, it did. It got about half an inch submerged. That was it. And there's no electrics in the bottom of it, thank God. So it survived. But not been a fun week.
No,
to be honest, it's not. No. And there's just loads of knock-ons. Yeah.
Yeah, touch wood, fish health-wise, you're okay.
Yeah, it looks it. So I was panicking with what to do, obviously, because you don't know what's washing in. I reached out to Frank actually after seeing your interview with him about the detox stuff, Joe, and had a bit of a chat with him, and I went and got a load of detox basically. Double dosed it pretty much. It was the next day. Double dosed it, and then just been monitoring since. And the fish are. I mean, it still looks like a mud pond, but there is a bit of visibility each day. There's a bit more visibility coming. So it was basically.
So now, for those that might not know, your pond's 42,000 gallons. Is that right?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
So if you hadn't seen Joe's video when he went to see Adam before Great British Koi Show, go and watch that. But in that regard, how much detox does it take to go in that pond?
2 kilograms is one dose. So one of the bags is one dose. So it's 55 quid a dose. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that just the standard dose though, or is that a double dose?
That's the standard dose, yeah. So I had to buy two of them. I actually did four in the end, but the thing is, I don't know, and this is what Frank and I were talking about. Really, we don't know whether there was chemicals or not. We've not a clue. But at least having that in there, it's given me peace of mind and let me sleep a bit easier at night because I've got 60 fish in there, and they're not all worldies by any stretch of the imagination. But when you've got, it adds up, doesn't it? Even cheap fish, when you've got a lot of them, it adds up. So yeah, I was kind of do anything at that point to try and de-risk it a bit, I guess, and just try and make them survive.
I kind of thought about this for a while, and like you don't plan on the road filling up with water and then running down and filling your garden up with water. Like you cannot plan for these things. And one of the things I was mentioning with Frank, I think it's like the 4th time we've mentioned this product in this podcast as well. We just can't stop talking about it. But one of the things that I mentioned to him is like, is it just good to have something like that on the shelf in case of like an emergency? If a firework were to like go off on bonfire night and land in your pond, is that the type of situation you'd need something like this detox? Like the unexpected things that can happen. But it does seem like with you, Adam, you've had a bit of a cursed back end of this year, haven't you? So it's like
I've had all sorts. I've got to laugh about it. So I net my pond over because of the leaves, because there's so many trees surrounding it. And once the leaves, I've got a big Wazi lake skimmer in there, but once the leaves they end up blocking the bottom drains, and I'm constantly purging and stuff. So I normally have it netted throughout the winter. When I went on holiday a couple of months back, I think a couple of months back now, 6 weeks, something like that. One of my massive glass panels that I've got around the decking that overlooks the pond, basically somehow, no idea, the clamps let go, and it's dropped the whole panel into the pond, onto the net. I know, it's just honestly goes from bad to worse. Onto the net. It's dropped the net then below the water enough that the fish have managed to get on top of the net.
No.
One of the an Omasako Shiro dead when I got back on the top, half eaten by birds, and then a yellow monkey completely shredded both its pec fins, alive, but its pec fins are like my fingers like that. They just flopped completely. Yeah. I'm allowed to swear, by the way.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So
you're safe.
So that was like I say 6 weeks ago. So the nets, I had to obviously get the glass didn't smash, by the way. Did go through part of the liner, which I managed to repair underwater by some miracle.
What did you use to repair it, out of interest?
It's a Gorilla tape. I'll have to go and find it. Never thought in a million years it would work, right? Well, especially doing it underwater. I thought, I've got to try. I'd try something. It was only a small tear, luckily, where the corner had gone through, the glass had gone through. Cleaned off all the biofilm and everything. Cut a nice patch of that out, and it stuck like shit to it. It's held up brilliantly. So it's a product. I'll dig out the thing and show you. It's such a good product.
So we're building up a first aid kit here, and we want emergency kit. So we got detox. We've got Gorilla tape. I think
Gorilla tape is no joke.
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing stuff. Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I've got some.
That's the one on the advert, isn't it, where he slices it with a Stanley knife, the bucket, and then just slaps it on, and it fixes the leak instantly, doesn't it?
Probably.
So,
yeah. But yeah, it did well. It's still, I keep having a look, and it's held up really well. So yeah, so I've not had a good run, to be completely honest. I'm gutted about that yellow monkey because it was it was doing really well. Whether it'll ever heal to any kind of position like it can, it's all right. I don't know. I'll have to see. Yeah. So yeah, not great, but the fish are all right. The feeding, I've been out today. The feeding, and like I say, I can only think the detox is. Like I said, nothing else has helped me sleep anyway. Because first couple of nights, just thinking the worst. I couldn't see anything.
Yeah, I bet.
One of the things you mentioned to me is you just don't know what's on the road, do you?
Nope.
No.
As silly as it sounds, you just don't know what's on there.
Not when you got tractors up and down from the farm next to me as well. You don't know what's in them big containers behind them. I don't know if there's pesticides. You just don't know, do you?
Yeah.
And I guess the volume of water was always in my favour because it'd take a fair amount of a chemical to probably, but you just don't know. So as of today, looking all right and. Yeah, glad to touch wood.
Oh, that's good. Glad it's on. Out of interest, then, Adam, of the 60 fish you got in there,
yeah.
So, what is the smallest koi you've got in that pond at the moment?
The Omasako Shiros, I bought 5 of them. They just turned knee size now. I've not measured them, so I don't know what they'll be touching 50. They're growing really well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the smallest I've got at the moment. And then the biggest, I think, is either the Chag that we had at the Great British Koi Show. Or I've got a Benigoi that I think might be bigger, to be honest. It's just not that clean.
Yeah.
And that was
I love
88.
a
It was
Benigoi.
88, the show.
Mhm.
I think it's got a bit more, and it's only go, so I think it's got a bit more to go as well, that one.
Yeah, nice,
Hopefully.
nice. Because anyone that's not seen the video, definitely go and see it, because it was a really enjoyable video. One of my favourite of the year. Obviously, it's heated as well. 42,000
Yeah, I've got
gallons.
a massive. So I've got from America. It's amazing what the Americans have got. A swimming pool, a massive swimming pool boiler, gas swimming pool boiler. It's obviously it's not exactly one that you'd hold it at 25 through winter or anything like that. Otherwise, I think we'd run out of gas in the country, and I'd definitely run out of money. But it's good. It's good for topping up in the summer if I want to get the push for the growth. That's the main thing really, and try and keep. The problem is it doesn't go under 18, so. Kind of winter, it's 18, and then once it gets to the point, I've got to kind of start to let it go down. Thankfully, because it's so massive, it doesn't drop that quick. The only time it's dropped that quick is when, like I say, all the flood water went in and dropped it 5 degrees. It's just shocking. So
yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing is with Adam's Pond is with the Shiros, like you put them in at like what 30 cm, and a year later
I don't think they were even that.
No.
Yeah,
they just double in size. Like if anybody tells you that fish don't need room to grow, like Adam's Pond is probably like the opposite of that. It just shows that if you give them the space, they do thrive in it, don't they? Like growth is not a problem for.
No, it's
for
just
your
the
pond, is
the
it?
challenge I've got is getting enough. Now they're getting big. A lot of them is getting enough feed in them, because the feeder I have it maxed out. One of the Japanese feeders that does 10, 60-second or 59-second feeds. I've got that maxed out, so it's doing over 3 kilograms a day of food, and the pond will take it. It is just about it'll manage the ammonia and the nitrite as long as I build up to that. Because people you said to me at the start, by the way, oh, you could do whatever you want with that. You could throw 10 kilogram in a day and you wouldn't get any ammonia or nitrite. I can tell you do. Even in a volume of water that big, it will. The nitrite, especially, just the same as with any pond, that's always the bugger to get rid of. And I do have to build the feed up to that. But as they get bigger, if I want to keep the bodies on them and keep them growing, I think I'm going to have to get the numbers as much as the space, and it doesn't even look, it looks quite empty, doesn't it, really, at times?
Yeah.
It's more just of I don't want to be getting another feeder and trying to put more food. I don't think the filters would take it, and I don't think the guy would take it. So,
What are you feeding, Adam?
So Saki and FD. Started on FD this year as well as this Sakakari. Been impressed so far with it, I must admit, but it's dead hard to tell, isn't it? If we're completely honest, it's the waste I notice more than anything. Like if I use cheap, like I used Takazumi as well, actually, which I think is a decent food. And I don't know whether it's the colour of the waste that makes it more visible, but I see more waste. I think with Saki and FD, I've not really. I don't see as much waste, but it's I think it's hard to know, isn't it?
I think it's one of the things that Saki Ikari pride themselves on is the fact that like you put a certain amount of grams of food in and you get
It converts,
a tiny quantity come out at the back end of the fish. So I think you will generally see with other things like a lot more waste. The question is like, can you put double in for the amount that you'd be paying for Saki? So, you could, with some other feeds, put 3 times more in and be getting a better mass conversion if you look at like the gross, I guess, of your financially putting in versus what kilograms they're digesting. It's just the waste. I mean, we spoke about it on a podcast with Andy Finch, actually talking about how important out of 10 water clarity is to you. If you had to put a number on it, Adam, out of 10, how 10 being most important, water clarity?
I'm 6, 7, 6 maybe.
Yes,
I just accept that it's going to go when you're feeding heavy. It's got the yellow tinge to it, and I can't avoid that whatever I feed.
No.
If you're feeding enough, it typically will tint the water, won't it? I think as long as you can see them enough that I know they're all right. That's the thing. I don't like. I've had it where it's been really green before, and you can't see whether the fish are sulking on the bottom or whatever. And that made me really uncomfortable. Yeah, I think as long as I can see them, that's me personally.
I've got an OCD for that yellow tinge. It drives me absolutely mad.
How'd
But
you
I
get
think
rid of it?
you can't. I've tried everything. Apparently, so I will say the detox is making a difference. It is improved situations. A filter floss or protein skimmer seems to be the only recommendation from a lot of people I spoke to. But I think with your pond, the size it is, I think there's that element of excitement when you can't quite see the fish as well. You know, like when you go to a moat when you're a kid, you go around a castle, and then all of a sudden, massive great koi pops its head up, or ghost koi, and them circumstances, isn't it? But yeah, your pond's got that wow factor of
Well,
when you stand by it, and it.
that's what it's like now. It's weird because it's got all this mud washed in. It looks like a mud pond, but the skin. I don't know whether it's just because the water's muddy. 'Cause it's only been a week. The skin looks really nice on the fish. So when they're coming up to feed, I don't know if it's just the illusion between the brown of the
No,
water and then the
so
benny, or whether it genuinely has made it look brighter.
gully waste, even with the fuels and oils in it. So a lot of people don't. I work for a construction company. We used to have people begging us for the arisings from gullies, the debris and the silt, because if you put it on a garden, everything goes nuts.
Really?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's only like somebody told me that some of the breeders, they go around to the mud ponds and chuck fertilizer in, don't they, for improvement of Benny. So if there's anything like that that's in the soil, like surely it's going to have a passive effect. I mean, for me personally, like a high level of organics in the water causes a healthier mucus coat and therefore like better skin. That's the way I always see it. That when you've got completely crystal clear water, the skin sometimes doesn't look as good. So it's
What do you
like
think? That's because of UV, like
I
UV
think
penetration into the skin, right? Like almost something like that.
yeah, I think so. I think the fish also like thrive in them types of conditions where there's just much more organics. I don't know whether it does something for like the actual just the water in terms of how alive the water is as well. With just talking about on a bacterial level as well. Like if there's more organics in there, there's more things living in the water, isn't there? Like that's my logic anyway. I'm not.
After the last podcast, I can hear Andy from Finch Filtration cringing at us just
Yeah.
talking about this. It's survive or thrive, Joe. Don't forget. He said to us, and because clarity is like super important. I can't wait to see his pond.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously this is really interesting to hear other people's take or perspective on it.
Well, that's why we've done this podcast, isn't it? We all have different like takes on it. But like one of the things that's particular with Adam is just the sheer size of his pond.
Cool.
But it's not all been downs this year, has it? We can't.
No. That's it. I'm focusing on the message of them.
Yeah.
It's been a great year actually. I've had a decent year, and the show was fantastic. Really enjoyed that. Actually, even the video catching him and everything was funny in the end, wasn't it? Actually, watching it back,
it was a good video.
I enjoyed that actually. Yeah, it was nice having the help because normally if there's anything wrong with the fish, I have to get in there and do that on my own. So it was quite good having an extra pair of hands.
In your waders, I think obviously, Si, you've been similar situation this year, haven't you? It's your first year of showing.
Yeah, on the complete opposite scale to what Adam's been at there.
But Si has inspired me for next year, and I'm hoping to join Si at it was the young, what do they call it? It's the
junior show.
And I'd love to join Si just to sort of try and cut my teeth on it. But yeah, I'd say it's different scales. But then Si, you got some cracking fish in your pond, and there's no reason why in the very near future you wouldn't be attending some of those biggies.
No, I'll do them eventually.
Yeah,
Great British Koi Show and probably national at some point. But I'm still in process of trying to rebuild my collection, so I'm just taking it one step at a time, really.
What happened, Sam, if you don't mind me asking? You say rebuild?
Last year I had a bacterial infection and ended up having to put about 9 fish to sleep.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
It was horrible, wasn't it?
It's all part of learning. But yeah, we move on.
Did you manage to save some of them then, or was that kind of a total wipeout then at that point?
Pretty much a total wipeout. I had one fish. Most of them weren't responding to antibiotic at all. I had one fish what responded to it. The infection started going down, and then about a week or two later, it just started inflaming again. And obviously, when you're dealing with stuff like that, it's a hell of a process going through it, netting them up, injecting them, because you have to do it on a schedule, like every 2 or 3 days, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was going at it for like 2 weeks, and I got to a point where I'm just thinking, this is doing them.
Especially when you can see them getting worse and worse, and it's like feels helpless.
Yeah.
So I've never had it in my pond, but I've helped. It was one of those conversations with a mate. Oh, can you help a friend of a friend who's got koi? You know about koi, don't you? And I went, and he's a really lovely bloke. I've ended up becoming really good mates with him. But he had a massive bacterial problem in his pond, and I spent about a year trying to help him get it right. And we had to cull quite a lot of his fish at that point because he was just so far gone, and no matter what we were doing. But Dean from the koi clinic ended up helping, and he's managed to turn it around, and it's running well now, and he's got some of my fish that I've moved on as well now, so it's ended up being like good. But it must be so hard to rebuild from that, mate. I feel for you.
Yeah, it is. Since that point, they've gone through every possible scenario they can have thrown at them. Various different temperatures, freezing they've gone up to 30 degrees and back down. I've had naive fish put in there with them, just to try and see if anything's going to kick off from a virgin fish, so to speak.
They seem pretty good, yeah.
I've not had no issues at all, so fingers crossed we're back on track. Well, like I say, I lost 9 fish, so I'm at a point where I've got to start rebuilding again. Until I'm at a point where I'm happy with all my collection, I'm not going to go mad going to the big shows, like Great British Koi Show or National or anything like that. I just want to start off at a small scale.
Yeah, but I think that's where everybody starts, isn't it? I mean, the Great British Koi Show is like, I don't know. For me, it's really open to like newcomers. Like this year, we all went out, didn't we, and had a good time with it. Like when we on the evening of the Friday and Saturday, just trying to like grow a bit of a group of people who were all just quite new to the hobby and trying to like foster a bit of a bit of a relationship with each other in terms of like trying to pull each other back every year, which is nice. And I think you guys would all appreciate that as well. So I think we've got to do more to get people into showing. And there's some people out there, like obviously, Lee Hadfield's put a lot of content out, and he's been really vocal about trying to get people to come and show himself, and has done it himself as well. For someone you've both shown last year for the first time, do you have like any words of wisdom to get people to show? I mean, it isn't as daunting as you think it is once you've done it, but putting the net in and getting the oxygen in the bags is the daunting bit, in my opinion, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me personally, that's why I wanted to start off at the junior show, because obviously you're dealing with fish that are a lot smaller. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine what it's like for Adam bagging up an 88 centimetre shagger.
It didn't get hurt. Yeah. Just me that got.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
somehow kept it, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like for a beginner that's just getting into showing, I think the junior show is the perfect one to do. You're dealing with smaller fish. It's only for fish up to 65 centimeters. So I mean, 65 centimeters is quite easily achievable for most people. So you've got a chance of them top prizes. So.
It's not small, is it? That because the 2 shower I brought, what were they? 67, 68 or something like that. And still big, decent fish. Yeah,
I think from the videos as well, so it just looked like a nice, welcoming show as well. It looked like everybody. There wasn't that element of competition. It just looked like everybody was there for the same reason, and that was just to see some really nice koi.
Yeah, the way it was run, it was absolutely fantastic. They couldn't do enough for you. The show staff, everybody that was there showing, I spoke to most of them, if not all of them. Yeah, and everyone was just so welcoming. People that have only just got into it, and people that have been doing it quite a while. And especially, I've got to give a massive shout out to Ron from the Birmingham and West Midlands Koi Society, because he taught me how to tie bags.
Honestly, my bag tying is diabolical. I've watched so many people do it, and I've tried to master it, but I just can't. I just end up with that floppy bit at the top of the bag, and then it's not.
You should have seen the state of my bags when I bagged them up to take them to the show. I'm telling you, it was disgraceful.
Well, well, me and
But you only learn by doing it, though, don't you? Because, I mean, like, if you weren't there doing it with me, Joe, I'd have been screwed, I think, to be honest. I was kind of, you were doing those tricky bits, showing me how to do it.
Well,
the amount Joe, before you go on, do a video on the koi perspective on YouTube of how to tie a bag, and it will get so many views.
Yeah, good idea.
I would do it, but I can't tie a bag, so it'd be a bit shit.
It's really, really simple. But it's really, really simple. But I use zip ties. I don't use.
Oh no, that caused no end of trouble, didn't it? Yeah.
Basically, you twist the bag. You just twist the end, and then you flip it over, make a U, and then just put a zip tie around it. That's
cheating.
Yeah, that's cheating. But I watch Amir at Koi Water Barn, and he's literally got the bands on his arms, and it's done. Next one, done. Yeah. Next one, and then I have a go, and he looks at me like I'm some sort of like blithering idiot. Yeah. So, sorry, Amir. Perhaps you should tie the bags.
I've not got the wrist strength, unfortunately. I should work on that.
Yeah, you should work on that, Joe. Good idea.
But, Si, for you, when you booked your VAT, did you have fish in mind that you were going to take to go? And did it change when you came to bagging them or not?
Well, I mean, as you know, I ain't got many fish in my pond anyway. And like I say, I'm in Miller rebuild. So there's already fish in my pond what I want to move on anyway, what I wouldn't really even consider taking to a show. But there were a few in there what I wanted to take. I only ended up taking 3 fish. It is what it is. But there were a couple more what I was considering and taking. But on the day, it just didn't work out. There were a show of what I wanted to take. The sumi wasn't ready on it. I wanted to take one of my chagois. That went out of size. And obviously, like I say, the junior show is only for fish up to 65 centimetres. This chagoi, it went over 65 centimetres, so I couldn't take it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because for Adam, like we spoke about this before, we did a part 1 and part 2, didn't we? And we were looking at your pond and thinking like, well, we don't know what any of these fish sizes are. And
it's not like you can just whip them out and measure them, is it? Easily. That was the thing. So, yeah, we were guessing.
Watching you trying to pull them across with the net to one side was just like, it was funny, but it was just one of them times where you just think, I wish I had that problem.
What was that?
It's the Isas.
Well, are they both Isa shows?
Yeah, it was 2.
One was Isa, one was Genjiro, which was a Dainichi bloodlight. So the more Kindai one was Genjiro, and then the Isa one had the head pattern, and I preferred the Isa. But
because Joe preferred the other, didn't he?
Yeah.
And the judges preferred the other. But everyone I spoke to at the show pretty much said to me, prefer the Isa. It was a topic of conversation when I met people.
If I remember right, the Isa one had a better body to it, didn't it?
I thought so, yeah. Chunkier body, and it had that really nice head pattern, but then it had a bit of a Benny gap, really, towards the back end of it, even being critical. Maybe that's... Yeah.
And it was a feisty fish, that one. As soon as we put it in net, it was thrashing around like crazy.
Nuts.
Yeah, absolutely mental.
Well, they don't get handled much, that's the thing, do they? It's been in there for... 3-4 years and never been touched, so that's probably the reason. One of the reasons.
Was the Isa much cop when you bought it?
I bought it at Nisai, and it was from the lucky draw thing. This Nisai lucky draw, so it was. Yeah. It's probably one of my best fish and probably one of the most expensive fish I bought. To be honest, it was, but the sumi was not up much at all, especially towards the back end of it. But you could kind of see when it finished, it should be like. So, but yeah, it was kind of always a bit of a dream shower, really, for me, that one.
Yeah, it's really interesting
within reason. Yeah.
Because you were mentioning to me, I remember that day you were like, I really want to take that, and I remember saying, well, have a look at this other one, because you were, I think at some point you mentioned, it's just, I think, I've known this fish, and I think you've got a picture of it with Matsunori Issa, haven't you?
Yeah, from that event. Yeah, with it. And I don't know, just because it's probably one of my favourite fish in the pond, so I really wanted to take it, yeah.
And it's funny because we looked at a Hiyotsuri as well, didn't we? We bowled a Hiyotsuri, and I was really keen for you to take that as well. I'm glad in the end.
Clean fish, that.
It was, and I wanted you to take one of the showers and to take the Hiyotsuri, because it didn't. But then again, we did learn something from that, taking 2. And
I think that ended up being quite an interesting thing to do, to take them back. Because if you were trying to max out your awards, it wouldn't make sense to have done that, would it? But it was more just a learning thing, wasn't it? Like we said, and it ended up, like I said, nothing else, just being interesting chat with people that I met on the day, kind of saying, "Oh, I like that one," or there's a few that were like, "I like the other as well." Like Paul Williams walked straight up and went, "I like that," the same as you. And he's obviously a super experienced, koi show, isn't he? And shower are his big thing, and he straight away went, "That one, same as you."
Yeah.
But something people with more of a judging mindset, maybe, I don't know, all went for that one.
I think it was just more finished at the time, other than that Issa one. I think the Issa one's probably got a better future ahead of it. But it's funny, isn't it, how we all build perceptions of his own collection and perhaps write things off because it's not to our personal taste, when I actually think it were good because we had a couple of people round to yours, didn't we, to actually have a look at some fish, and there were perhaps some fish that you'd written off that we ended up taking in the end. So it was good, and I think you've got to look at your collection with like a super critical eye as well, which is harsh sometimes. But coming back off the shows, has either of you done that? Have you come back and then completely changed your mind on your collection or not?
Si got back and took a hammer to one of his. It was barbaric. It was. He said, "I'm never doing that again." Poor thing on the side of the pond. It was like the In-Betweeners scene on the boat.
No, definitely not.
I've got one that the other Heat series that I preferred to the one that you liked. And I remember you said, "Yeah, but it's got white all on the edge of its fins." I was like,
"Yeah,
is that a problem? Is that
a demerit?
A major demerit?" And I just didn't really know, and I never really noticed it. And now every time I look at the bugger, I think, "Oh no, it's got white on its fins." So yeah. So that's probably one example. I think it's more when I'm looking at other fish now for the future, because I've got so many, and I need to get my numbers down anyway for the feeding, like I said. So I think if I do, the ones I pick now, I'm probably going to try and pick with some kind of purpose rather than just randomly buying stuff that takes my fancy.
Yeah, I'm quite jealous of Si at the moment because it was horrible what you went through. No, you got such a nice collection, and it was horrible what you went through. But you've got that opportunity now to build your portfolio of koi, I suppose, your stock how you want it. Whereas I see my pond is broken into units, and at the moment I'm at the maximum units of koi. But I would say 50% of my koi are stuff that the kids have thrown in there, and now we've grown attached to. Stuff that I've inherited, and really I can't get rid of it because of sentimental value. And, sometimes you're just sitting there hoping that, where's that bacterial infection when you need it? But I know that sounds terrible.
But Dave, you keep saying that you need to offload some fish, and then you just go and buy some more.
Yeah, but they're the ones that I want. That's the problem. I'm buying the fish that I want, but at the other end, I need to... I mean, it was like that. Like I said, that Easter shower. I bought that at the show after watching your video, and it was the last Easter shower in the vat. I think it was. It was the one that everybody had left, and that was Jumbo Tozar, wasn't it? I think. Yeah, but it was sort of 30 cm certified Easter shower, and I give Amir £100 for it, but I don't know whether it's going to become good or not. I probably shouldn't have bought it. And then it's moments like that I go. I shouldn't have done.
Just got to give him time with shower, though, haven't you? As well, that's the thing. You don't judge too soon. I think.
I'll sell it.
And on the bacterial thing, mate, it's always the best koi that die. It's always. I don't know. I can't get my head around this phenomenon, but every single time it's like I lost Zora, my number one favorite fish, and that died. And it's for some reason it's always your best bloody fish. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's always the ones, but I mean, when you buying koi and you just can't, it's impulsive, isn't it? That's the thing with koi.
It's
when
a disease.
See something you like, you're impulsive.
It's weirdly addictive, isn't it? I've been thinking this a lot recently. It's so weirdly addictive.
Well, I just bought another one, even though I said I went by now.
Yeah, but what? Yeah, but how you couldn't? So when you put that in the group at that price, there's no way you could have walked away from that.
No, that's trouble. You say you're not going to buy any more fish, but when a nice fish comes at you that's good value, it's difficult to turn them down.
Yeah, that was a cracker, wasn't it? That was a cracker.
I think
I don't think Joe's seen that one, has he?
No, you'll have to send me a picture afterwards.
Where's that from?
Shosha.
No, breeder-wise.
Marido.
So next year I'll bring my Denichi and the Sakai, and we'll have a freeway war at the Young Koi show. We'll see what happens.
What time of year is the Young Koi show? I'm not been to that. Is that the one that was Birmingham way?
It's Birmingham. Yeah, it's end of. It's the last show of the season.
It's the latest. Yeah.
Beginning of October. Sorry.
That's probably a better time to do a show, isn't it?
I spoke to a few dealers, including Koi Walk Bar, and they said it was their favourite of the year.
Yeah, the fish. The fish. There was every single vat. The fish looked fantastic. There were no issues. There were no fish jumping about. There were no clamping up. Just seemed to be so settled for that time of year.
Nice.
I think a lot of the issues that we have in this country sometimes can be that the fact we spoke about this on a previous podcast as well, about respecting the koi seasons and respecting when a koi is in a growth season, and the koi shows that we have in this country are so the opposite of that and disrespectful to the koi's growth season, because you're asking, especially like in Adam's Pond, for example, the stress event that caused all your fish to go in and to get the net and pull them all around, whilst they've all got, you took them off the food for a couple of weeks before the show, granted, but they've still got the temperature, they've still got the belly full of even the pond liner and the things they're grubbing on in the pond, and they're way more active. And then to put them in a show that where it can be quite warm over a show weekend as well, like in August, September time, it can still be quite warm. So like then obviously you've got all people buying koi at the koi shows as well, and then bringing them home and putting new fish into an environment that might be still at 20 odd degrees. It's just not the optimal environment to be introducing fish to at a koi show or taking them out of, is it?
It's not, but I must have, and that was one of my big fears about. I had a few big fears to do. That was one of the big fears. I was thinking, it's not the right time of year, blah 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 blah. They were great, and credit to the show. They managed the water really well, I think, because they looked great all weekend. Didn't have any problems. Like it was, I think in my head it was a bigger problem than it was in reality. For me though, it was like you said, a couple of weeks off the food, temperature down, then got to try and build back up again. It was just that kind of interruption to the growing season that was a bit of a pain, I guess.
Because I remember in that video when we were stood at the side of the pond, we were talking about it and saying it were only like a couple of weeks ago you'd been dosing for flukes.
That's the problem. So I'd already been disrupted for quite a while trying to get rid of flukes and then that, and it's just
So Adam, what does a fluke treatment look like for you?
Looks like a very, very sad time for me. I have to do fluke treatment. So that's the one that I can't get a cheap treatment for apart from Superverm. And I'm still nervous of Superverm. And I know plenty of people who've said to me they use it and it's fine. And I have used it and the fish have seemed fine. But then I have had a couple of fish with internal issues that are not really explainable. Was that to do with using Superverm? I don't know. I've been using a few different things. Usually whatever I can get my hands on at a decent price, whether it be Learnex or, I've had like Learnex that one of the koi dealers had just gone out of date by a month. So I could get like 20 boxes of that, for instance. Yeah. But it's literally about like 20 tubs of the stuff. You do the maths on it. It's frightening. Oh, what's it? The cloverleaf anti-parasite, which is basically the same ingredients as Learnex, but slightly stronger. That's been good value in the past. It's gone up more now for whatever reason. But that's been good for me in the past and done a good job as well. So, but it's just the one that there is no cheap answer to it. So I've got my own little quarantine set up, and even when I get fish from dealers that have been through the dealer quarantine and they go straight in there, I treat them for flukes regardless. Just in case, you know what I mean? And you still bloody get them though. I don't know, there's a lot of debate, isn't there? Do they come on birds or amphibians?
I keep being told quarantine.
2,000 litres.
2,000 litres. I thought we was going to see economies of scale there, and you tell us it's 12,000 gallons.
Sadly not. Yeah.
Separated by a dam.
Well, I actually spoke to you, Adam, about moving towards like PP-based treatments as well, didn't we? Like,
you can't say that.
We found a potassium and hydrogen peroxide treatment that some doctor had been recommending in America, haven't we? on the internet. I don't know if you actually stuck with that method, because that was just before the koi show last
No,
year.
that was so the gist of that was kind of multiple treatments, wasn't it, over a certain. I'm trying to remember now. So I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got an AUP meter, so I use that when I'm doing P. I don't, yeah, because his was kind of going off certain dosages, wasn't it? But I've just done everything on the AUP meter, just not to take any chances. But yeah, I did a few PP treatments to build up to then the fluke treatments, just to try and get them once and for all. And touch wood, it seemed to do the job. It seems to have got rid of them. Whether it was the PP, the fluke treatment, God, I really don't know. But my worry was I was going to bring him back from the show and it's going to all kick off again with that. And I don't think it. I'm trying to remember.
That's a podcast we need to have, actually, Joe. We'll get a couple on that are really for PP. So I know there's a lot of people that are against PP and a lot of people that just chuck it in willy-nilly, which is where you get your problems, isn't it? But it'd be interesting to have an open discussion about PP. Because I think you'll use PP, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, I use PP.
But I'm like Adam though. When I dose potassium, I use a redox meter as well.
Yeah.
How do you get rid of trick without PP? That's the thing, because FMG doesn't touch trick, does it?
Not very well.
This FMG's a pain in the arse as well, isn't it? Sometimes with the wait time and then the retreat after 7 days. It is.
Yeah.
And like potassium's just so cost effective, and I think it's really not very stressful on the fish because it kind of like is in and out as well. Like
my sturgeon would probably disagree with that, Joe.
Yeah, true. But no, I think in general, like PP as a we're not going to make this a PP podcast, and I'm not probably qualified to talk on it.
No, and that's the thing. You've got to be careful what you're saying. You can do what you choose to do in your pond's one thing, isn't it? I've seen so many bad experiences with PP just on YouTube and stuff, haven't you? People that have got it wrong and it's wiped out the collection. You've got to be really confident with what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? People are going to do what they feel most comfortable with.
Yeah.
So for you guys then, just to finish off on the showing point before we move on to the next bit, but in showing, will you be doing it again? And if so, like anything in particular that you're aiming for, or are you going to experiment with for showing, Si?
Yeah, I'm doing the junior show again next year.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll have a few more fish to take by then. So, and I'm also, the fish what I took this year are being grown on through the winter to get them up to a decent Nisai size, because I bought them quite late on in the season, so they didn't really get much of a chance to grow, if you know what I mean. They kind of lost out on some of the growing season. So I'm hoping to get them up to a decent Nisai size through winter and then push them on through the summer ready for October, see where they're at then. But like I say, I'm hoping I'm going to have a few more fish to take with me. Hopefully some of the fish that I couldn't take this year I may be able to take next year, but we'll see.
Yeah.
You have to see what's ready, don't you? That's the thing. That's why I'm kind of like, you have to see what's right at the time, I suppose, to take.
Yeah. What about
I definitely want to do it. I definitely want to do it again. So I really enjoyed the show, and similar to what Si said, really, everyone was super friendly, like the organisers and just the other hobbyists alike. It was. I wasn't sure, because you sometimes, when you're watching some of the YouTube and things like this as well, there can be an air of bitchiness about some of it, can't there? They can't they? And I've always been a bit like, oh, do I really want to get involved in any of that? And I think it didn't ever feel like that anyway. While I was there, everyone I met was sound, and like they were, all kind of nice people who wanted to help you in one way or another, or give you a bit of advice, things like that. So it was. I really enjoyed it more than I probably thought I would. The drive down there was the worst bit. I hated it. With the fish in the back, the chag was flapping about, and I'm just going, this is, am I being cruel? Putting an 88. I mean, we obviously had the right boxes and bags and everything, and they were fine, but it's a bit of a heart in mouth for like the whole drive down there. But once got past that and seeing them in the vat and seeing how settled they were, it was great. So yeah, I definitely want to do it again. I'm weighing up doing the national as well, actually. Thinking about it. My only worry with that is, again, the people I've spoken to, I think, was it this year that it was particularly, was it cold this year?
Cold,
it was, they were struggling.
It was warm on the Saturday.
Yeah, that was it, and then it went cold.
They were freezing, and they all started spawning. I mean, we had the same at Great British Koi Show, because one night we decided, we hadn't decided, we just hadn't thought. I think it was the first year we'd done it, and it was red hot that year. I don't know if you guys came, but it was, you could hardly stand on the inside. It was so warm.
What was
And
that?
then-
The first year it was back.
Yeah, the Great British,
yeah.
and then on the evening it went really cold, but we left all the doors open on the show hall, so the cold came through and all fish started spawning. So on the Sunday, the nets had to go on, and it was just one of them things. You go, right, doors have to be closed so temperature can drop slowly. You should think about these things, but you just don't, do you? It's one of them. Like, everybody's so tired. What I think a lot of people forget, and is that all of the people there are all like volunteers as well. Like they all just want to sit down at night time and have a beer and have a chill, because through the day it is full on. But like, yeah, they've made some amends. I think in general, like the fish at the Great British looked really good this year, and so I'm hopeful that we can get Adam back, because I know you've got.
I would definitely want him. The August bank holiday is always a problem because they tend to go away with the family.
Yeah.
But
Joe got you in a bit of bother, didn't he?
I just have to drop it in early enough. Maybe like January the 1st, I'll just get it in and just take the shit then at the start. But no, I do want to.
What about the All England? That's all we've got down here, down south. But it is in a climate-controlled building.
Yeah.
So with that, you can guarantee the temperature. Maidstone, so just south of there, yeah. But yeah, Maidstone. So it's about an hour from me, so that's my local. But yeah, it's indoors. It's a proper conference centre.
Yeah, it's just such a drive for me to do that, and for Adam, and it's just so long away. By the time we get down there, fish are already kind of like stressed out as it is. That's half the problem. I've never visited before. I'd love to visit. So.
I mean, after COVID, that was the best show they had, and then they used to do the All England, the young koi show. So they used to do that in May, June time, I think it was, which was similar to what Si attended over in Birmingham. And then they'd have the All in England koi show, and it's always later than the others, so they don't do it till September. There's a really good, if you get a chance, pop down. But I'm vice versa. For us down south, you don't get that koi scene until you get to sort of the Midlands. It picks up, go north of London into Birmingham, Leicestershire territory. Then you actually see something, because there's absolutely nothing down here really.
No, and Adam, you've got like some really weird and wonderfuls you could bring next year, like the Tangier.
I need to see how they. Yeah, it's that belly line of Benny that came.
But do you know, we were talking about it, and it's just like, but it's a 80 odd cm Tancho Goshki. Like,
with a massive.
Just bring it anywhere. It was massive.
Yeah, it went in at. It's got to be about 80. It went in at about 75, I think, and that was one of the bigger ones I got from Sunnybank. Actually, they got it from Narita auction, and it went in about, I think, 74 or 75, and that was a while ago now. So I think it's got to be. It's a big fish. But it's really darkened up now. It's starting to really darken up, but only along the top. So, and it's kind of got this Benny, like a Sargi type Benny coming up on the belly line. But
I think
gutted.
Bring it.
I'm gutted about it, because I thought it was really clean, but and maybe it'll be all right. This is what I mean. I keep thinking, if the whole thing goes black, then it might.
You've actually got a Goromo as well, which I absolutely love. Which
I like a Goromo,
yeah, it's like a massive 80 cm Matsue Goromo, isn't it?
That was one of them ones you described before. This is what triggered in my head when you said about you get the opportunity for something, you think, I wasn't going to buy any fish, but I've got it. Joe texted me this, and I was like, mate, I'm not buying any more fish. I can't. And then he sent me it, and I was like, how can you not? Because that was another, what was it, 75 cm? It was a Matsue from a Kahaku spawning, we assume, but it started to get the Goromo robing coming up on the second dam. But it's coming through more now, Joe. So it really, and it's got amazing Benny. It's really, really like big body. It's going to be a beast. Well, it already is a beast, but it's going to keep growing. It was Yonsei, I think, wasn't it? 74, 75. And that was last year, wasn't it? So so it's doing well. Just need that robing to come through. It's at what point to bring that? Because at some point you've got to bring some, because it's so unusual. You've got to bring it, but I just don't know whether it'll be this year, because I don't know whether the robing's going to. You'll have to see. This is one of these examples. You'll have to see how it does.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see it. That'd be.
It's a really nice
it's not something you see all the time, is it? I think my koi of the shows this year, I think, was a Goromo, just because you don't usually see them.
Yeah,
it's just nice to see something different, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it
Not
was just a complete freak, to be honest, Dave. And, like, it's obviously just a freak of a spawning. But then I think Narita put a video. I sent it to you, Joe. Didn't have a bowl, and it just looked like Kahaku, but it said these aren't Kahaku, these are Igoromo, and the Mat's away again. So maybe they are actively breeding these.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it gave me a bit more hope that the robing might actually fully come across on this. But you can see it's progressing, just slow.
Slowly, yeah.
Yeah.
So for the next segment, we'll start with you, Dave.
Oh, hang on, we're in segments here, so I've not done this on the podcast
It's a bit
before.
professional, isn't it?
He's caught us out with this one, Adam.
No. This is what I do. I can't just go ad hoc, and if something springs on me, I'll spring it on you.
It's like my koi keeping. We make it up as we go along.
Dave, Azukari, is it something you've done, interested in, or just doesn't appeal to you? I'm interested to.
I'd love to do it. The problem, I think, with Azukari would be me. As I say, looking at the Mike Snedden stuff that people have been, there's been a lot on social media, haven't there? People that had attended last year and are finally getting their results through now. And that I've just seen they're so excited. And these people getting these fish back, they look nothing like what they did when they were chosen for them. But I don't know if I've got the patience. If I buy something, I want to bring it back now.
Yeah,
and I want to see it. But at the same time, I am aware that the benefits perhaps that the dealers can bring is far more than my little puddle in my garden. So I'd love to do it, but I think I need to be a bit older and a bit more responsible and less excitable, I think is probably the answer.
I'm one of them people who's done the Mike Snowden Yumikoi challenge. That was my first little venture into doing Azukari. It is really bloody exciting, I must admit.
It is. I've seen the results. I'm really chuffed for people. And there was one, I think it was a lady put on there. She said she was quite disappointed with her pick at the time.
Was it Karen?
Is it Karen? It's Kahaku.
Probably Karen.
She was a bit disappointed when it was chosen, but actually it's now looking like one of the best of the bunch.
Yeah, I think it's Karen's post.
It's got a lovely pattern on it, and yeah, I'm really chuffed for her that she's had that success, and she's had that time of picking it. It's a bit disappointing, and now it's come back, and it's like, wow, this thing looks. It's got a lovely zigzag pattern down its back. Yeah, no, I think I probably enjoy watching other people do it more than I would enjoy doing it. It's like buying Christmas presents. I like buying for people, but I don't like being brought stuff. That does me head in.
What about yourself, Si? Is it something you've done or plan on doing?
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, it's definitely something that I'd love to do.
I think it's about like having the faith in the koi farm, isn't it? I think it's like picking the right breeder and the right circumstances. I mean, there are a few occasions where I think to myself sometimes Azukari is just a way for a lot of to make a little bit more money out of people. And
how could you say that,
Trav? But like it's almost like a marketing technique, isn't it? It's like for this extra 20,000-30,000 yen, you can get Azukari, and I understand there should be a cost involved, but they should want to Azukari it as well, and it's picking the fish that they want to Azukari.
That was going to be my point. So my take on it is that if it gives you access to a fish at Tosai that he's going to grow through to Nisai that you couldn't get at Nisai or afterwards, and that's the gamble, isn't it? So like I've had one. So I'd only done the Yumikoi Japan one last year. I bought a few. I got carried away. I got really taken by it.
Like you do.
like I do. And I did 3 last time round. 2 of them came out great. One of them was male. So I got a free entry then into this year as a refund for it, which was so I got a free go into it because it is guaranteed for female. So I moved the male on, covered my shipping cost that I'd had to pay to ship, because really it shouldn't have been shipped, but they hadn't noticed it was male. So covered my cost. The guy who lost the fish in the bacterial problem I said about, he's happy because he got a really nice fish for just the shipping cost.
Yeah.
And I got a free entry this year. And the one this year was right down my list because you put 1 to 30, I think it is. It was quite far down my list in the end this year. And I was a bit, all year I've been going, I don't really like it. I wonder whether I'll even ship it type thing. And it's come out great. It looks really just dead pleasantly surprised. So, so I've been happy with that. But
That's
I
what
think.
that's.
Sorry, go on, mate.
Sorry, go on, Adam.
No, go on, sir.
No, I was just going to say that's one thing that that gets me with those things like that. You know, the Yumikoi challenge and growing shows and things like that is buying a fish what you're not really keen on. So, you know, if you're like buying a fish, if you don't get your like first or second pick and you end up getting a fish what's like 30th on your list or something like that, you know, it's like, oh, I didn't really want that one.
Yeah, that's the problem. And I think it's less of a problem to some extent in my pond because I'll have 10 kahaku, let's say. So if it's not whereas if you're going to just have a couple of kahaku because you're trying to have different varieties, you want them to be ones you absolutely love, don't you? They need to be your first or second choice, don't they?
Comes down to the units again. You've only got a certain number of units in your pond. You can't be having willy-nilly fish like I've got, and you're in that situation then where even if I see something I really like, I can't get it because I haven't got room, or you buy it knowing you've got to move something else on. Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It's tough.
Yeah.
The answer is build a 42,000 gallon pond.
It's definitely not the answer to anything.
The advice is go as big as you can.
That was one thing I did read a lot on the forums and things when I was planning the pond. Every single person said they regret not going bigger, but I think I can say I'm definitely the one who doesn't regret it and probably wish I'd gone smaller, but it is what it is. On the Azukari though, Joe, I think the access to something that you wouldn't get is definitely one of them. I've also noticed that, I don't know whether, because obviously I've always said, well, I can grow them. I've got the space. So why would I not just grow them here? So I've always been a bit against it really and thought I don't really need that. I'd rather get them cheap and grow them myself. I don't know whether it's the better fish to start off with that they're Azukarian or whether it's the way they're raised in the mud ponds over there. But the Benny's always, like the ones that have been like that, Goromo and things that have come over to me big rather than buying them Tosai, like a lot of mine have been Tosai. The ones that have come bigger, the Benny looks a bit nicer. I don't know if that's just because when they were raised or whether they just had better Benny or better fish to start with. I'm never really sure on that, but that's one of the things.
I think to like replicate the growing that they have in Japan, we're having to almost like do something different. Like, you know, in example, your pond is that the ratio of size versus quantity of food is a lot better than what, for instance, I'm having to do here. I probably have to feed more food to compensate for the size that I've got for them. Whereas in Japan, again, it's probably the size of the mud ponds, right? It's next level again, and it's as you know, scale of economy in that respect. So I think
the mud, that's the mystery, isn't it? Right? Is the mud and the clay is that a fact? You know, is that a factor in how they end up developing? And does that mean they're just nice condition when they're harvested, or do they then keep that throughout the life? And is the Benny better because it's been grown in the mud? I don't know.
That was kind of my theory as well. But then if you read some of Mike Snaden's old articles that he's written about mud, he just says, well, it's just devoid of minerals.
Minerals,
There's nothing in it. And you know, in my mind, when I look at it and go, well, there's got to be something in it, but there's just, you know, if you speak to
unless it's the UV thing, like you said, though, unless it's providing maybe that's it. I don't know.
You think of that sunshine they have through the winter reflecting off of the mountains. You see some of them videos; it is super bright, isn't it? That sunshine, although it's cold, it is super bright. So we all need to move to Japan,
pretty much, yeah.
Like Mike did. So one thing we touched on there, Joe. So we said obviously male and female koi. Do you all have a preference over male or female? So we got female for size, but for colour, they usually say male, don't they?
I never used to have a preference up until probably around like the last year or so, and I'm hoping we can get some actual some people to come on and talk about it from real experience. But there's some very serious fish in this country that have been absolutely ravaged by males in ponds where spawning has occurred, and people have lost a lot of money in koi and some very serious fish, which that had a part to play. But then when I went to Japan recently, and I can't remember if I told this story already on here about the fishing lake where there were walks into a breeder's premises and there were a pond on the right hand side and there were fish I liked in it. I said, oh, what's the crack with that? Can I have a price? It's no good. I was like, why? He says, oh, it's male. I was like, right. I said, well, will you sell it to me? He said, oh no, they're going in like a fishing lake. Like literally just, and it were all the fish that had shiroji on basically. So anything that had a white colour, so Sanki, Kahaku, Showa, Shiro, Beko, all just disregarded because they get yellow skin. And at the time they didn't have that. But as they get older, they believe it progresses. And that might be bloodline. And you'll get a lot of people out there, like, they have some amazing male fish in Japan. Like, don't let me dispel you that male fish do not exist in high quality. They do. And I've bought some very expensive, like over £1,000 male fish, and I've known the male and I've still paid it. So, would I now? Probably not, because I'm trying to achieve something a little bit better than that, if you understand what I mean. It's, I want them to get to Yonsai and be still looking like a female, if that makes sense.
Any of those ones you bought this year, male, Si? Or they all been female?
Which ones?
With the Tancho, the latest Kahaku, the Ginrin.
The Tancho and the Sanki, what I bought from the Dainichi auctions, obviously, they were sold as unsexed.
And that's basically male, isn't it? Anything unsexed is usually male.
Well,
I've got one that was female from a Dainichi auction unsexed, but it was 17 cm. So I think the smaller you get them. Yeah, I think that obviously once they get to about 30, I think that percent. But I've got nothing to back this up. Just what I've seen in my own experience. But once you get to 30, I think they know at that point, don't they? Whereas if you're buying them 15 cm, there's a lot more chance that you're going to get some that genuinely they don't have a clue whether it's male or female.
The Ginrin Kahaku. To be quite honest with you, I've not even checked that. To be honest with you, but the Sanki, what I bought, the Tamura Sanki, and that's female.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because for instance, this year is the first year I've done Azukari before, and it's at a koi farm. I'm not going to give all of it away because I am doing a video on this, but it's a farm that I've really admired for a long time, and it's a young chap there that's kind of heading up the business, having taken over from his dad, and I really wanted to support it. And there were a fish in one of his Tosai ponds, and I said, "Oh, will you sell me any?" And he was like, "No." He didn't really want to, but I was like, "There's a fish in there I really want. It's really unique." And it were a lot bigger than the others. So, and some people have told me that's a sign of a male, actually, when they're really young, that bigger means a male. I didn't know that. Anyway, I asked him to bowl it, and he was like, really, like, I could tell I was like annoying him. I was dipping in ponds. He didn't want to sell. And he got me it. And it had been bought, it had only been alive 3 months, and it were already 31 cm. Yeah. And it's got shoulders like mad. And I was like, all right, I want it. And he tried his hardest to sex it, but it was in like 26, 27 degree water, and it was just, and it's so young that it probably hadn't even developed to the point where you can get milk or feel oiboshi or anything like that. So he gave me a price. And I'm fairly sure the price is, if it's female, I'm not paying for female. If it's male, he's happy, he's got a decent price for it. But it's somewhere in between there. If it were female, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. Like, it'd have been out of my price bracket. But because it's unsexed, it means that it's somewhat affordable. Because we're both taking a gamble there that it turns out female. If it's male, he's quids in. If it's female, I'm quids in. So it's like that negotiation, and that's kind of the like, and again, that's the type of experience you want with Azukari, because he's going, well, this has got serious potential, like, and if it turns out female, I'm well happy with that. But I guess it's really hard, isn't it, to buy Azukari over the internet? Like, you can't get that same feel for how precious they are about it.
Joe, you just mentioned about breeder feeling for Hiboshi. Can you just briefly try and explain what that is to people?
Should we have a pact on this now? If we ever mention something that we think might be something people don't understand, and we should have a running log.
Yeah, so people might not even know what Azukari is, and this is what we're going to fall victim of. So Azukari is, I'll have to copy and paste this bit in, but Azukari is buying a koi and leaving it in Japan for a growing season. Oiboshi is, it's like, feel like little dots, like it's almost like sandpaper, but on the gill plates you'll generally feel it really a lot firmer. You'll feel like sandpaper on the gill, but if you feel the leading rays of the pec fins, occasionally you feel like a little bit of, it's almost like it feels like bone tissue, but if you run your finger along it, you'll feel like dots on the pec fin.
And what does it generally mean if you can feel that?
Male. It'd mean male. If you can feel any roughness on the pecs or gill plates, if it's smooth, it means generally female. You can tend.
It's hard though, isn't it? Because you get some where you've got a very female vent, and then you can feel a little bit of roughness, and you're going, is it? Isn't it? I don't know. Unless you can get milt. Milt's like the only kind of 100% way, I think, isn't it? Really, if you get milt, you've definitely got a male at that point, haven't you? But then I've had a little bit of roughness, but completely female then, and as far as I can tell, are still, and they've been certificated as female from the breeder, but a tiny little bit. And I think you start saying, is that Oiboshi? Is it just something else? Like, it's such a hard thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if you feel enough fish,
that's what it is, isn't it? You get to know it.
You get to know it, and I think, to be honest, as your eye develops and you see enough fish, generally you can tell the difference as well. Little things like, at Tosai, you can see some body shapes, developing, like male traits and female traits as well. Like, even with skin, you can tell the difference, the head colour. If you've got a window on your pond, look at the heads and look right where the shoulders come to the heads. And if it's got like little dots all around the top of the head, just leading onto the shoulder, that can sometimes be an indicator of male as well.
Yeah, it's funny. My Kogan Achiba, I would have sworn that the body shape of that's female, but I can say when it's been by the window, because it's quite metallic, I have noticed that it's got rough gills and that rough bit around the top of its head.
Yeah.
So thanks for ruining that for me. I think of it up for sale.
But it's funny as well. Do you guys pay much attention to like the behavioural differences between female and male koi or not?
What the females
It varies between variety though, doesn't it, as well? Like Asagi, like my Asagi's super scatty as a feeder.
Yeah.
And then I've got others that are just, some of them just have different personalities, it seems, doesn't it? You can see real variation. So I don't pay much attention to it myself, to be honest.
I have noticed it in my own fish, between the two sexes and varieties, really. They all seem to have distinct differences between them. The males just tend to be a bit more bonkers. The females tend to be a bit more chilled out. But then, like I say, it does vary between varieties as well. I've got obviously Chagois, do calm as anything, and then I've got what's the other one? What I've got a male Sankey, and that's bonkers.
Yeah, I think it's almost like an Asagi is a wild fish. Like
definitely,
Akamatsuba is a wild.
Yeah,
I add into that. You've got a male Asagi like I have. I'm not getting that thing out alive. No. Like the next time that fish leaves my pond is in a plastic bag. Like literally, I can't net it, because if I put it on the side of the pond, as soon as I tilt my net to get the sock in, it's out.
I've got a male Chagoi like that.
Yeah.
Really?
So like the male fish thing, that's another point to consider, is that if you want to deal with that like down the line of having, because when male fish get to 60, 70 cm fish, it's not an easy thing to get them out of the pond, the power they can generate. I've seen fish get like nearly 4 foot in the air out of my pond, and I'm only like 3 foot deep. And it's one swish of the tail and they're up in the air.
I bought those 2 Kahakus based on, I like the look of them, and they're male, and I'm now regretting it.
Well, I don't want to make you feel bad. Like, if you're going to have them, male fish can be really like cost efficient. Like I've said, sometimes what you want in female, you can't afford it. So, like, if the compromise for you is, I'm not going to compromise on pattern, skin, everything, so I'm going to go male, and that's going to be the compromise, then that's fair enough. And you can still do, if you're talking about like the junior koi show, at 65 cm, you probably want to be looking at males as well, because the skin at that point will be completely finished.
Finally, there's a benefit to me male Kahaku at last. But
there's a big movement to male at the moment, though, isn't there? Like generally in the hobby, there seems to be a lot of people kind of saying that the male bodies are getting so close to female bodies, they're getting the same size. And I don't really know, but that's just kind of seems to be the word on the street that everyone's talking about. And I don't know whether it's just a very small percentage of them that are kind of achieving that, and whether generally they don't get to the same sizes and hold the same body. But,
well, that Sakai I bought a couple of weekends ago, that is XL Jumbo, whatever they want to call it. But just coming out of Tozai into Nisai, that's over 40 centimetres. So, and that's male. But no, my luck, that's as far as it will get. It will stay at 40 centimetres for the next 5 years, but we'll see.
I think if you in an ideal world where another thing that we spoke about is keeping like mixed sexes can have this hormone release that they have where they're both like stopping each other. You know, the males are releasing hormones that stop the females from growing and vice versa. Like, there's these things you've got to like consider. For instance, if Adam came back from holiday once and they'd all got randy because one male's kicked it off.
It's happened.
You could have 50 odd fish all laying eggs at once.
It happened a couple of years ago. That's why I've weeded out the males. I've got a Momotaro Sankey that got damaged because obviously mine's got blocked like stone walls around the top of it. So it obviously got smashed into them and massive like line out of the benny plate on its back. It's still not fully recovered now. So I must have had some. Well, I did have some males in there at the time, and I've ended up getting rid of all the known males that I've got, and that's when I buy the Tosai and grow them. Any that are male, I'll just move on for that reason now.
Yeah,
and try and keep them all female. But then I worry about the eggs. That's my next kind of worry. Do they not release their eggs?
What do you do, Adam? Do you tend to chuck spawning brushes in for them?
I don't, and I don't know whether I should. So I starve them obviously for a good couple of months over the winter period, but that's it. And I have had a couple over the last 4 or 5 years, two I think now, that have been egg bound, and I've lost them because of it. So, but that's 2 out of 6, like I say, 50, 60 fish. And I guess I always have to remind myself, having that number of fish, you're probably always going to have one. You will find one or two that sometimes isn't. Something happens. It's just a numbers game, isn't it? So, but I don't know whether I should chuck spawning brushes in or what. Really, I'm not sure.
Sounds like you should chuck a male in.
Just the damage, isn't it? That's just the thing. It's so unsuitable in that pond to be bashed around.
If anyone's not seen the process of spawning, and I've never had it in my bigger pond. I had it in my little 5,000 litre pond, and they killed my chag. It was because she was the only female in the pond, and they literally destroyed her. It was horrendous to her. I mean, she lived a couple, 2 or 3 months after the injury she sustained. And as a beginner, I had rocks in the pond, I had plants in the pond, and they were just absolutely hammering her. It's horrific, really. But until you see spawning, it's not something you want in your pond, really, is it?
No, it is awful. And like I've damaged a pretty nice koi. I'm not sure it'll recover from it either. So I think I have to make a call, and I'd probably urge quite a few people to like consider as well, even like yourself, Si, like if you're going to be building a collection over the next couple of years. Like I think once your pond is obviously coming off the back of the bacterial thing as well, like you're building this collection up, and your pond will be reaching like a maturity point where spawning is probably more likely to happen over the next couple of years.
That's what I'm scared to death about, because like I say, my big chagoi, she's female, and like I say, I know I've got other male fish in pond, like a male chagoi that's just brutal, it's crazy. So I'm just scared to death that they're going to start spawning at some point, and she's just going to get battered.
Yeah.
It's funny because if you have a pet dog, you go and get it neutered. You have a cat, you go, we need to take our koi somewhere. Someone needs to set up a neutering service for koi.
I feel ever so bad just referring to my chagoi as a big chagoi when Adam Webber's sat there.
Chagoi, your chagoi site is a big chagoi. It is a big, isn't it?
It's an average size fish.
It's but yeah, just Adams is on another scale, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't believe that fish. That's Liam grew it to start with.
You bought that Nisai, didn't you?
Bought Nisai from Liam.
How big were it at Nisai?
55, I think. So he'd grown it from tiny little Tosai, so he'd done really well in that immediate growth period, and it's just kind of gone from there. Yeah, couldn't believe. I didn't expect it to get this big. Obviously, you hope and dream, don't you?
Yeah.
I think it was 500. I think I gave him 500 quid. I think from memory.
How old is it now, Adam?
5. I think it's Gosai.
What bloodline is that?
It's Hirasawa and Marasei, isn't it? Yeah, Marasei.
Okay.
Yeah,
she's just remarkably clean, like no pits on the head or anything like that. Actually, she's not got like.
She's just got them few little shimmies. But it's funny. I said it to Liam, and he looked at the old picture when she was Nissan. She's actually had those same 3 little shimmies then as well. So they've
Mine's-
always been there,
mine's-
not got any work.
Mine's exactly the same. Mine's a Hirasawa. Yeah, and she's well, the only one she's got a minute is one little shimmy on the side. But yeah, them Hirasawa Chagos, they're just
Growing
eating
machines,
machines.
aren't they? Yeah,
So
yeah.
what bloodline is Adams Oakley?
Yeah.
I
It's-
don't know. That.
Yeah. Oh,
Is
well,
that
Chagos.
Hirasawa?
No, that's think if I remember, I think it's Otsuka.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I think you might be right there. Actually, that's Adam Byers Oakley.
Yeah, that thing's on a. That's like a. Well, I don't know. It's like a whale.
Yeah, it's like the mother to millions. I think that fish.
It is. Yeah.
yeah. But no, that's been really interesting. I hope that people have enjoyed it and got something out of it.
I don't care. We've enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've all had that,
Sod the
haven't we?
people listening. It's been brilliant talking to Adam.
Yeah. And
I've
so
enjoyed it too, guys. Yeah.
No, and if you see Adam next year, hopefully at Great British Koi Show, like go and give him a pat on the back for dealing with all the problems he's had this year. I'm sure
There'll be
he'll-
loads more before. Maybe we could just do that little agony aunt kind of thing. I can come on and moan for an hour about what stupid problems I've come across.
That's
this
why
month.
we've enjoyed it so much. We're all going away going, yeah, it's not been such a bad spring, summer, has it? It's been quite good, actually.
I hope.
I've not had...
I hope
you
the
go on, Si.
I hope the Akamatsuba will be making an appearance again.
I think so. Yeah, it's doing really well. Look, I've seen that today. Actually, she's looking great. But then I don't know because Stu Hay, who won the GC at the Great British, he lives near me, and he's got a cracking one now. It makes mine look a bit bigger, and so if he's taking that, I'll leave him to it.
No, the competition.
Just
And it's
actually,
funny, isn't it? Really, I'm obviously I'm not that bothered, but now I've been once, I'm going, I want to win something now next time. Yeah.
but that's just before we go, Jazz. That's a really good point. Actually, Adam, did you both have someone come and look at your koi before you showed for the first time?
I do.
Jeff.
It was Joe. Okay.
You had a few others as well, didn't you?
Oh, actually, so yeah, I had Craig McNish and a few others came just for a general
Craig,
visit.
Yeah.
While they were in the area, so we had a bit of a visit, and they came to mine, and then we had a bit of a barbecue at Stu's just over the summer. So yeah, I got a bit of feedback actually from that as well, thinking about it. And Paul Cunningham and Stuart, they've been so you kind of naturally go, what do you think about that? But it was the Akka was never even on my radar. Weirdly,
No.
it wasn't on my radar till like about 6-8 weeks before, and I went, oh, it's suddenly grown and it looks really nice and it's really red. And yeah, when we got it in the bowl straight away, we went, oh yeah.
Oh, I think it would be affordable, to be honest. I think for me, I remember distinctly like being at the side of your pond. Ben, you'd got it in net, and I was bending over with sock, and I thought, yeah, this is coming. Yeah, before I'd even got it out of water. You know, when you lift a fish up out of water, instinctively you just go, fucking hell. It was one of them moments, and it was like, yeah, this is coming. And it were like, do you take that and a Hiotsuri, like both very similar styles of Benny, aren't they? So, but no, I'm excited. I think it would be awesome if you could bring Adam that Goshki with red belly and the Gorimo and just have like do most
just do a really weird vat of stuff.
Yeah.
I might just do that.
Yeah, it'd just be awesome. But no, thanks for coming on. I'm sure we'll have you back on at some stage and have a chat and a natter about stuff, because it's good because you're like still learning at the same time, aren't you, with all of this? So
yeah, definitely. No, I've enjoyed it. Thank you. Yeah, thanks,
and
guys.
thanks as always to Dave at Eden Koi Pond for coming on.
No, honestly, it's brilliant. Adam, I can't wait to catch up with you in person at some point. Really look forward to
Yeah,
that.
definitely. You have to come and have a look at the pond at some point. If you're ever
That
over
would
this
be
way. I know you've been
really
a bit
good.
far, but yeah, if you're ever up this way, mate, come and have a look. Same
Cool,
for
that
you,
sounds
Simon.
good.
Go and check out Dave at Eden Koi Pond and Sai up North Koi
Or
Pond
not.
on YouTube as well. Or not.
Well, thanks, Dave.
Yeah,
Am I the only one who's not got a YouTube channel?
Don't worry about it.
I think I'm too busy dealing with calamities every week. I don't think I've got time for it.
Calamity Koi, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that can be it, can't it? Oh.
For anyone interested, I'll leave a link to the video Adam's.
Watch it.
as well.
Watch that video.
Yeah.
Whether you're a beginner, whether you're an expert, it's a good video to watch. It's a heartwarming video. It's nice.
Well, it was for me until Adam threw my microphones in his pocket.
Oh, yeah.
That was a bit, yeah.
Which took all of about 3 minutes from when you arrived, and I don't destroy your equipment. Maybe the calamity's just related to me. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, that was brilliant. All right, guys, thanks again, and we'll see you next week on the Course Perspective podcast.
That was it. Tab out. Laters.
Cheers,